Dawn of the Dead is now celebrating its 20th anniversary, and I've recently rewatched it, so let's review. So Dawn of the Dead is based on the 1978 film of the same name that was directed by George Romero, which I'll admit, to my everlasting shame, I have never seen, and I'll probably watch at some point, but I will still take my time in watching it. But the point is, Dawn of the Dead, it is a remake, and I don't know how different it is from the original, but it's centered around basically these group of people that is caught in a zombie apocalypse, and they end up in the mall, and they have to work together to survive and also make it away from this mall that is being surrounded by zombies. Now, I've always known this movie was directed by Zack Snyder, and it's one of those Zack Snyder movies that for some reason I just never went back to go revisit. I don't know why, but I've always liked this movie, and after rewatching it, I love it even more. In fact, I'll say it's one of my favorite Zack Snyder movies because it is basically Zack before he went full Snyder. It is Zack Snyder before all the Zack Snyder-isms that we've all either grown to hate or love. The one Snyder sensibility that is in this movie is oversaturated shots. But aside from that, I do think this is one of his best films. But granted, one thing I did not know about this movie is that it is written by James Gunn, which I'm like, hey, figures. A Zack Snyder film that is written by somebody else, so that checks out. But hey, I still think it's a pretty good duo between Snyder and Gunn. With Gunn's brilliant writing and Snyder's sensibilities, it definitely works for this movie, and it makes for a bloody good time. This is one of the funnest zombie movies I've seen, and I even remember at the time, this movie came out, I guess, a little over a year after 28 Days Later, where we were starting to get fast zombies, and just that intro alone, Anna, she is witnessing the apocalypse happening, and then we get that long shot, and that car just crashes into the gas station, and it blows up. I'm like, that is cinema. And I'm serious, throughout that whole intro, I was just glued to my TV, because I was also trying to get other things done, but eventually I was just like, hey, yo, I got it, yo. And there's even a few times where the movie had me shook, where I jumped out of my seat. I'm like, oh shit. Like that one shot that's over the ceiling, and then Anna, she jumps back and then falls into the tub. But eventually she comes across other characters and they end up in the mall. And I've always thought this is one of my favorite zombie apocalypses, or zombie experiences, I should say, that I low-key wouldn't mind going through. Because think about it, never mind the zombies, just being stuck in a mall for days, that is a concept in itself. And we get to see what it's like to be stuck in a mall, and everybody just like, huh, we're in the food court, okay, we got all this food, and then just raiding every store in the mall. Shit, if I was me, I would be in GameStop, whooping out a PS5 and playing games. But we also see that some of these actors also got to make some tough calls, because if you get bit by a zombie, you get turned into one. And so it's just hard when one of the characters, her father, she gets bit, and they got no choice but to shoot her. Now, as for the characters, like I mentioned, Anna, she's the central character. She's the one we follow into, and then she comes across Kenneth, played by Ving Rhames, while he was still in his Melvin from baby boy phase. But I like how he's the heavy, and he works with Anna, and they basically help each other navigate. And then they also comes across Michael. He's just trying to find redemption, and he finds it in helping people survive the zombie apocalypse. And then there's Mekhi Phifer, who I've always known about and always known was in this movie, but his wife is pregnant, but his wife gets bitten, and he doesn't tell anybody because he just wants to save the baby, but we all know that's not about to happen. Ty Burrell from Modern Family is in this, which I also didn't know about. But of course, there's also the one character that I think everybody gravitate towards and probably had the best arc, and that is CJ, played by Michael Kelly. He is the asshole in the beginning. He's having trust issues. He doesn't trust anybody. He's trying to act like a tyrant, but then he eventually comes around and even helps them escape the mall, and then he makes a sacrifice, and I'm like, you know what, you're all right, CJ. And he's even funny at times. I also like the music in this movie, in which, of course, there's Down with the Sickness, which is one of my favorite rock songs. Oh, get down, come on, get down with the sickness. Come on, get down with the sickness. Shit. But during the opening credits, there's a Johnny Cash song when the man comes around, which I've heard from Logan, and I didn't know that was that song in this movie. In the end, I definitely agree. This is one of Zack Snyder's better films. It's probably definitely in my top 5. I'm gonna watch Owls and Who for the first time, and then once I do that, then I'm gonna put together a list of how I rank every single Zack Snyder film, especially after Rebel Moon Part 2. Not looking forward to that. But Dawn of the Dead, it's definitely one of the best zombie movies from the past 20 years. Probably one of my favorite zombie movies now. I'm gonna give Dawn of the Dead the hard eyes emoji.